Hi everybody, it's Christina from Adventures in Polish Land. Welcome back to another Friday Reads. Today I will give you a quick reading update. I have a little book haul, and then that book haul inspired a discussion topic that I wanted to pose with you this week, which is, are the books we talk about the most the ones we enjoy the most? So you'll see what I mean once we get into the video. First up, I did finish The Distant Marvels by Chantel Acevedo. I finished this on Tuesday, I think. Can't remember the exact day. It took me about a week to read. A little bit of a slower read for me, but I really enjoyed it in the end. And it's kind of continuing on this theme that I'm seeing in my reading this year, which is older women who are reflecting back on their lives. And this is a genre or a topic that I've really been enjoying, and interestingly enough, I have gone all around the world with these books. So this one in particular is set in Cuba. And then I moved on to The Door by Magda Szabo. This one is Hungarian, and it's a similar situation. We have an older woman reflecting back on a time in her life and telling us the story of this interesting housekeeper that she had for decades. I'm on page 34. This is one of those books that it looks short, but then when you flip through, there is really not a lot of dialogue. It's just a lot of the characters telling you the story, so it does take a bit of time to read, but so far I am really enjoying it, and I'm excited to see where this takes me. As for my book haul, it was my birthday earlier this week, so my parents gave me 3 books. And when I was a child, obviously, my parents were the ones that bought all of my books. But my mother in particular, she was an elementary school teacher, and she would pick out books for me and give them to me for Christmas, holidays, what have you. And I said to her recently, you don't really give me books anymore. And it makes sense, I'm an adult, I have my own money. If she's giving me a gift, it's not a book like she used to, but I said it would be really cool if maybe for Christmas or my birthday, she ended up going with, you pick out a used book for me to read, because as you know, I love used books. And I said to her, you can take a look at my bookshelves and see what you think I might like. And she picked out 3 books. And I'll show you the books first, and then we'll talk about her thought process a little, because I thought it was really interesting. So first, she got me The Color of Water. This is a Black man's tribute to his white mother by James McBride. This is a memoir. Then she got me Major Pettigrew's Last Stand. This is by Helen Simonson. And then she got me The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Murial Barbery. And this is the only book of the 3 that I would have picked out for myself. As you know, I'm reading a lot from Europa editions this year, and this is one of their, I would say, more famous titles. So this was definitely on my radar, and I think it's something I am going to enjoy. But these 2, this one I think I have seen before. This one I have not heard of, and I am not much of a nonfiction reader, and I don't tend to read memoirs, so this was a little bit out of left field for me. But when I was talking to her about why she chose these 3 particular books, she said she knew I liked Priest Daddy by Patricia Lockwood, and she knew I enjoyed the Old Filth trilogy that I read this year. And I thought, yeah, that is true. And Priest Daddy, I would say, is one of my favorite books. But the Old Filth trilogy, as much as I really enjoyed it and learned a lot from it, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite books. But I thought, you know what? I've been talking about that book a lot, not only in my videos, but to her. So it makes sense that she thought it was one of my favorites. And I was thinking about my favorite books, and I realized I don't talk about them all that often. I would say that if you were going to buy me a book, the books that I would give you inspiration from are The Giver by Lois Lowry, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I would probably say, I'm looking up at my bookshelf right now, Prep by Curtis Sittenfeld. That's one of my favorite books. As for Patricia Lockwood, it would definitely be No One Is Talking About This. I do love Priest Daddy, but that is a very, very niche book, and I feel like not that many people have read it. And so if you go online and you search for books similar to Priest Daddy, that's going to be really hard to find, because what makes that book so special is that it is so unique. I mean, how many people out there do you know grew up with a Catholic priest as a father? That's what makes the book interesting. I also think that if I were going to tell people what I really like about books, it would be I love dystopian novels, specifically adult ones nowadays. I don't really read teen dystopian novels anymore, but I love books like Chain Gang All Stars. As I mentioned, The Handmaid's Tale, love that. And I would also say I love literary fiction that explores family relationships or cultures different from my own. And I've really come to think that I need to start talking more about my favorite books, because if I go out into the world and I'm talking about the books that are recently read for me or just have a lot of talking points, people are going to assume that they're my favorites. So, as much as I did enjoy the Old Filth trilogy and it sort of inspired me to go on this journey of reading more from Europa editions, and also I have found a lot of ties with my reading this year with books that have to do with the British Empire, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites. And in fact, I hear from a lot of booktubers that sometimes it's the books we like the least that we end up talking about the most, because it's really easy when there's a book that has a lot going bad for you. You can point out all the things you're disliking, but if there's a book that you give 5 stars and it's just a perfect book for you, it can be difficult to put into words just why you love it so much. So that's a skill that I definitely want to work on as I continue making these videos, and also as I continue in my regular everyday life, because as much as it can be interesting to talk about books that have a lot of natural talking points, I think it's important to bring up those books that are just amazing and have some things to bring up to other people for those as well. That is it for me this week. I think my reading has definitely slowed down a little, which I'm a little disappointed about, but I am reading some good books. And now it is sports season as well. I've got the Celtics going on, I've got the Patriots going on, and my reading kind of dips a little bit this time of the year anyway. So I would love to hear from you. What are you currently reading? And then also let me know if your favorite books are the books that you talk about the most often or not. I would love to hear, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.